My ex refused the paternity test to prove that her daughter is mine because it was insulting, but she was hysterical when the court ordered a DNA test. Plus all updates. 15 years ago, I was 25 and was finishing my contract, and my then-girlfriend of 3 years, Natalie, was acting increasingly strange. I returned from a 2-month assignment and was prepared to break up with Natalie. She came by and gave me the good news. She was pregnant. I asked how far along she was, and she said 5 weeks, so I broke it off with her and told her she needed to do better at math. She refused the breakup and insisted the baby was mine, so I told her the following: 1. Paternity test, and 2. If the child was mine, we could talk about financial support and custody arrangements with lawyers. She refused both and told everyone we both knew that I was a deadbeat for knocking her up and leaving her. I told everyone I was on a 2-month assignment when she conceived, but a few insisted for the sake of decency I house her and give her limited support. I consulted a lawyer about this mess, and the lawyer made it very clear that any overt support I give could be seen as me taking responsibility, so I told these friends that, and almost dropped it, except for one guy, who again insisted that charity couldn't be used as a legal cudgel like that. I told him if he believed that, he could house her. He agreed to drop it after that. The child was born, and not even going to do the whole she didn't look like me because most babies are born with squished faces, and all I saw were the pics she sent me with messages like Emma wants to know where daddy is and poop. She still refused to take any paternity tests, but her constantly showing up with that baby got to the point where I filed in Roe. Fun fact, in my state, a permanent Roe is not permanent. It is 2 fucking years long. The only way to get it longer is if a violent crime is associated with it, and bugging someone with a baby that's not theirs is not a violent crime. So, my life for the last 14 years has been me renewing the Roe every 2 years because, once it clears, Natalie shows up again with my not child. I eventually found a nice girl and got married, and now I have a 9-year-old son, Henry. My wife Kim is well aware of Natalie and Emma. When the cycle begins again, I always say the same thing: 1. Paternity test. 2. Once paternity is proven, I will take custody and get financial support set up. Natalie always refuses and says both are insulting. Recently, the cycle started again, and Emma showed up first. She approached my son during a school event and said, "Hi, I'm your big sister Emma." Henry knows about stranger danger and runs away to a teacher. I had to have a very painful talk with the teachers and parents who were at the event about my relationship with Emma and Natalie and how Emma was never my daughter. I even called her my daughter once or twice in the conversation. After the group disbanded, one of the mothers confronted me and said that while Natalie was in the wrong telling this poor child I was her father, calling her my daughter was mocking this situation. I kind of get where she's coming from, but I can't help this child, and the truth is playing light of the 2-year cycles is the closest I can get to finding peace in the situation. Update: I got off the phone with my attorney. We have a preliminary hearing on the new Roe this week. We will most likely be issued a temporary Roe, and then another hearing for the permanent Roe after that. CPS is investigating Natalie and Emma's living situation. The teacher's report held a lot of weight, and my lawyer thinks this might be a way to end the madness now. In family court, for minors, there exists something like a temporary, court-appointed guardian, who is only a guardian for legal purposes and procedures and decisions, including medical. If the family court appoints such for Emma, we can ask this temporary guardian for the DNA test to put this to the ground. The madness might have an ending in sight. Adding here, I feel like I need to explain the relationship I had with Natalie all those years ago. When I returned from my 2-month assignment, I was already set on breaking up with her. Her "oh wait, I'm pregnant" would never make me marry her. I doubted she was pregnant for several weeks. During the last year of our relationship, several red flags appeared in her behavior, ranging from demanding that I check in with her. At the same time, at work, I only hung out with friends with her present, with extreme bouts of jealousy if I ever seemed too friendly with women, including waitresses. I was in a line of work that demanded me to be away for long stints, which she hated but also kept me out of her reach for long periods. I think halfway through that last year, I realized that when I was away, I did not miss her. I was relieved to plop into a cot and fall asleep after long work hours without thinking about her. When the pregnancy turned out to be real, I made it clear that with a paternity test, I would pay support, split custody, and be a co-parent and nothing more. She wanted me to be her husband, no questions asked. There is no test, just pure blind faith and devotion to her and the child. The test, she insisted, was insulting. There would never be a relationship, and there was no relationship to salvage with Natalie. On the advice of the first attorney I hired, the deal was no test, no contact. Court update: the preliminary hearing on the new Roe went well. Emma and Natalie were there, and we discovered that Emma lives with her great-grandmother and has a guardian ad litem, court-appointed guardian on legal matters. My lawyer thinks this means whatever was found in Natalie's home situation warranted removing Emma, and potentially severe enough that the great-grandmother only has physical custody and the need to appoint a guardian ad litem. During the hearing, we went through the whole song and dance, the past Roes, the whole deal. My lawyer turned to Emma's representative and said we would submit to a DNA test and put this to bed. Natalie looked hysterical at that, and her lawyer urged her to be silent. Emma's representative accepted, and we were cheek-swabbed in the courthouse. A temporary order is now in place, and a second hearing is scheduled for the permanent order in the upcoming weeks. The order covers immediate family on both sides, and as I've detailed in the past, Natalie is oddly good with following court orders. We have about 4 weeks before the definitive test results return, but I'm not too worried.
My roommate's ex-wife demands that we give her the house that I solely bought. She took us to court, but the judge ruled that she's ridiculous. Plus all updates. I have been living with my roommate for about 3 years now. We've been great friends and have had a fantastic living arrangement. He's going through a rough divorce with his ex-wife, and I've tried to be supportive. Fast forward to yesterday. His ex-wife shows up at our doorstep unannounced and demands that we hand over the house to her. Yes, you read that right. She claims that since she married my roommate, she has a right to the house, which is currently under my name. Her audacity took me aback. I told her that the house was mine and that I wouldn't give it to her just because she was going through a divorce. She started getting aggressive and accusatory, saying that I was just trying to screw her over and that I was not a good friend to my roommate. I lost my cool and snapped at her, telling her she needed to respect my property and boundaries. I told her that if she continued to harass me, I'd have to involve the authorities. She stormed out of the house, leaving me shaken but relieved. Ada for snapping at her? I felt justified in defending my property, but I could have handled the situation better. Update 1. Well, she's taking us to court. I just received a summons in the mail, and we're scheduled to appear in court in 3 days. She's suing me for the house, claiming she has a right due to her marriage to my roommate. I've spoken to a lawyer, and we're preparing for the worst. Has anyone else had to deal with an ex-partner's craziness? Any advice would be appreciated. Update 2. Court prep is going well, but I'm getting anxious about everything. My lawyer says we have a strong case, but you never know what will happen in court. I've rehearsed my testimony and gathered evidence to prove the house is mine. My roommate is super supportive, but I can tell he's stressed about the whole situation. 2. His ex-wife is just being ridiculous, claiming that she helped with the down payment, which is a total lie, and that she's entitled to half of the property. Update 3. Today's court hearing was a total circus. The ex-wife showed up with her new boyfriend and her lawyer, who seemed like he was straight out of a bad 80s movie. They presented their case, and it was just a bunch of nonsense about how she emotionally supported my roommate during the purchase of the house. The judge seemed skeptical, but you never know. We presented our side, and I think we did a good job of showing that the house is mine. Now, we just have to wait for the judge's decision. Update 4. We won. The judge ruled in our favor, and the ex-wife's claim was dismissed. We're both breathing a huge sigh of relief right now. The judge basically said that the ex-wife had no legal claim to the house and that she was just trying to take advantage of my roommate's good nature. I'm so glad this is over, but I'm also a bit annoyed that we had to go through this ridiculous ordeal in the first place. Update 5. I'm still on cloud 9 after our court victory. My roommate and I celebrated with a nice dinner and a few drinks. It's amazing how much stress and anxiety can be lifted off your shoulders when you finally get a positive outcome. I'm just glad that justice was served and that we didn't have to give in to the ex-wife's ridiculous demands. Update 6. My lawyer called me, and the ex-wife is appealing the decision. I'm not surprised, but I'm still annoyed that she's unwilling to accept defeat. My lawyer says we have a strong chance of winning the appeal, but it will be a longer and more expensive process. I hope the appeal court sees sense and upholds the original decision.